addicted and unshown. The name 12, the last, is the gauge of the blast. Hear me out, it's all about the game. The YouTube streets ain't got no shame. There are beggars, grifters, baddies too. Just a lot of confusion, whatever it do. From missing kids to people being butchered in the night. Many lost in these chats without a fight. 12 gauge, listen up fast. The beat of the heart will melt your cast. It's the crown of the champ, the image of the might. Get your ass ready, because here comes the might. There are beggars, grifters, baddies too. Just a lot of confusion, whatever it do. From missing kids to people being butchered in the night. Many lost in these chats without a fight. Listen to the words that run from my mic. There will be knowledge and facts to light. You don't get it, you think I'm the brash. Listen to the ones that you just throw away your cash. 12, 12, 12, can you remember the name? It's about a sinister shadow in the dark to ruin your sleep. With the mares of the night that give you chills, come to the channel. You can get your fears brought to live without the senses making a fight. Your brain beat down from the grifters on these streets. Give the channel a try and dance to the beat of a different drum. There are beggars, grifters, baddies too. Just a lot of confusion, whatever it do. From missing kids to people being butchered in the night. Many lost in these chats without a fight.
Welcome to 12 Gauge Investigative.
In the shadows where the truth hides deep, echoes of the lost and the secrets they keep. Cold cases burn in the back of your mind. We dig through the dark, 1, 2 at a time. This ain't fiction, this is blood, this is truth. 12 Gauge Investigative, justice uncaged. We ask the questions they're too scared to say, shining a light where the guilty pray. From killers to whispers, we won't look away.
Yeah, man. How's everybody doing again? My name's 12 Gauge, and this is my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. Sorry about earlier. I had some business I needed to take care of. Had some personal stuff going on, so had to take care of that. But I'm back for part 2. If you were watching this earlier, come on back and finish it up with me. We're talking about Dylan's interview, and we're talking about the discrepancies of how people view this versus the reality of what a police investigation is really like. As far as I'm concerned, this interview was done pretty well up as to this point that I'm seeing. Dylan had some recollections. I'm still kind of confused about the little bitty, Kaylee ran down, somebody else ran up. I'm still kind of confused about that, but I'm sure I'll piece it all together because, it does make sense. I just have to visualize it, maybe go back into the house and visually see what she was talking about in this interview. Nina just left a chat message that no Murphy Dog Park. So I guess she had her idea. Her idea was not accepted by the university due to them having no plans of having any kind of using the property for any personal business, I guess, or development. So a little disheartening there, but I'm sure with her vision, as she said, she's going to have that dog park somewhere. So hopefully she continues on with that situation. So I also want to show the rest of this. So let me pull it up, and I want to give Plunder the props for this because she's the one that I'm using her video and using it to be able to give correct interpretation of the difference between interrogation and interview. Most people don't have a clue about it. They just listen to what other people say and they run with it. Like they still think that if you find discrepancies in any of these photos or any of the documents or any of this stuff, then automatically you can just run to the judge or to Ann Taylor and say, look, we found these discrepancies. Brian needs a new trial. They believe that. They believe that it's that simple, that it's that easy, that direct, that there's no semblance of stages of law and order that need to be manifested before any of that could happen. And for the record, I want to tell you that Mr. Brian Christopher Kohberger is still in the Idaho Correctional Unit, as far as I've heard. So, that being stated, he is an inmate and he has a self proclaimed guilt. So, no more do I have to say presumed innocent. This young lady and Bethany and everybody else who, after the fact, after they gave these interviews, they're presumed innocent because there's no evidence against any of them of their involvement in this crime. Their phones were taken, their phones were downloaded, they were interviewed more than once. Um, let me put your comment up here. It says, I have a question. If everyone's interviews match, that would seem rehearsed. Most interviews are different from person to person in some ways. Yeah, that's true. These, but to be fair as well, from a certain time to a certain time, most people's recollection is going to be kind of on point because there is a variance of perception. Like I always learned this in college, which people don't find highly in their levels of belief that college gives you any kind of knowledge. Um, I was given in a psychology class one time this scenario, and they were trying to gauge people's perceptions. Let's say you're at an intersection. Somebody runs a red light. Two cars hit this. They T-bone this vehicle because they start to go. There's four people on each. There's one person at each intersection. You interview each one of those people. Is each one of those persons' recollection of what happened going to be different? Of course it is. But the basis of all of it is they're still going to meet at the common goal, which was the accident. Each one of them saw, heard, experienced something different because not all of them are seeing the situation through the same eyes. They have different variations of understanding. So, but the end result is there was two vehicles T-boning a car that ran the red light. So that's an interesting scenario and an interesting study when it comes to true crime as well. Is like we're watching this video. There's been multitudes of people that already watched it and they have their impressions about it, whether she's telling the truth or whether she's not. I believe that there are some people that are questioning it due to their misinformation or misinterpretation of what an interview really is. Let me pull that up for you because I've done it before. Difference between interview and interrogation. I'm going to use Google because it's the fastest one. I have a video on this whole thing in my library, so if you want to go check it out, feel free. Okay, it says an interview is an open-ended information gathering process, while an interrogation is a structured questioning of a suspect believed to be involved in a crime, aimed at obtaining a confession. Very simple, cut and dry. So one of them is an open-ended information, meaning you're asking these questions to get as much information as you can from the interviewee, the witness, what they saw, what they heard, how they knew the people involved. The interrogation is when you've already demonstrated that you have a suspect, that they're involved in the crime, so you're aimed at your goal is to obtain a confession. So the key differences include the goal, which what I just said, information versus confession. The relationship with the person being questioned is the witness, person of interest versus suspect. So person of interest is someone that you're looking at to give you information about what they know about this event. Could they potentially become a suspect? Of course they can. If you find out discrepancies, if you find out physical evidence such as DNA, fingerprints, or even text messages or social media things that would point them into being involved in the crime, then at that point they go into potentially being a suspect. The use of coercive techniques in interrogation and the requirements of Miranda warnings during custodial interrogation. So, did you notice one time in these interviews that these people were read their Miranda rights? No, they were not. So, they were not being interrogated. They were merely just having a witness statement on what they knew, what they saw, what they heard. And it continued to say the interview, the purpose is to gather general information, establish facts, and identify individuals involved in an event. The person is typically a witness or person of interest rather than a suspect. The approach, exploratory, building rapport, and establishing baseline behaviors. The legal requirement does not typically involve Miranda warnings that the person is not in custody and not considered a suspect. The goal is to uncover the facts and details of a situation. So that is what this gentleman is doing with Dylan. He is interviewing her. She's not a suspect at that point. So therefore, she hasn't been read her Miranda rights. And that is the difference between the sentence structure, the questions that are being asked, the dialogue that's happening between the police officer and Dylan, and what she's telling him. And um, like Nina just typed in the chat, trauma and um, shock, or lack of understanding of the crime, because they didn't know they were murdered until they found out later on. Up until that point, they were worried about Dana and being passed out, an unconscious person. Not at one point did they say, we think our roommates have been murdered. We think that guy that we saw last night killed our roommates. We're suspicious of him doing something evil to our roommate. You didn't hear any of that. because they did not know. Whether you believe that, whether you don't, that's up to you. But I'm telling you, if they knew, then they would have been a little more pushing in the interviews. But they gave what they gave. The interrogation says the purpose is to obtain a confession or incriminating information from a suspect. Dylan, Bethany, Hunter, Emily, none of those were suspects. So what they said openly without a lawyer present. The Miranda rights weren't read because it was an interview, informal. The person being interrogated is a suspect or someone reasonably believed to be involved in a crime. The approach is confrontational, systematic questioning, and the use of psychological techniques like minimization or maximization to elicit a confession. So if she would have been involved, I'm sure he would have been saying, okay, so tell me, if you didn't have anything to do with this, how do you explain bloody shoe prints in your room? That bold. It would have been that bold of statement. Something like that. That elicits, thank you for that, Sirius. That elicits approach to see if they can get a confession. The legal requirements, if a suspect is in custody, Miranda rights must be read, including the right to remain silent, the right to have an attorney. None of these individuals have an attorney with them at this point, so their Miranda rights have not been written or read, and they're not in custody, so therefore they're not even detained. They came down, I'm sure, on their own free will to give statements of what they knew. Their goal is to secure a confession by influencing the suspect to provide incriminating information, and that is the interrogation. The key takeaway to shift in focus and interview move to an interrogation once there's a reasonable belief that the person being questioned is guilty of the crime. So if they would have believed that any of the people that they're interviewing, whether it be Dylan, whether it be Bethany, whether it be Hunter, Emily, have any of those individuals led them to believe they were involved in the murder, then they could have been detained and ultimately became a suspect. And then there would have been a different type of conversation. There would have been Miranda rights written or read. These are critical for interrogation when a suspect is in custody, providing legal protections. But there was no Miranda rights read. The legal ramifications, information obtained during a lawful interrogation can be used against the suspect in court, making it crucial to understand the distinction. So everything Dylan, Hunter, Emily, and Bethany were saying could not be used against them because there was no Miranda rights read. So this interview was voluntary. So even if she would have incriminated herself, it couldn't have been used in the court of law against her because there was no Miranda rights written. God, I need to quit saying written. Read, and it would have just been a statement after the fact. And then you consult a lawyer if you're asked to speak with law enforcement, especially if you might be a suspect. It's advisable to contact the lawyer first. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The differences between an interview and an interrogation, and I've gone over that multitudes of times. Every time that I do this kind of case, when I'm discussing police interaction, I've heard other people call these individual suspects. I've heard I've heard other creators call them person of interest, which they are at that point. But to be fair, if they would have gave any inkling that they were involved in this crime, whether it be cleanup, whether it be knowing that that was Brian or knowing that this individual murdered their friends, you bet your sweet ass they would have been a suspect. Nobody would have covered that up. Nobody. So all these other individuals that are hardcore bent on calling this young lady and everybody else involved in the crime a liar, a suspect. She should have been interrogated harder, all this other stuff. I said, I suggest that you take a criminal justice course so you learn the differences, not only for yourself, but for your audience. Because you're spreading a whole lot of misinformation and it's detrimental to people's character. You're defaming people's character based on your lack of understanding of the judicial process, the law process. And you can't claim ignorance because you do this day in, day out. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them that do it day in, day out, and they never change their interpretation of the words. They might now if they're watching me or they watch another person who they kind of like or don't like. Hell, they copy everything else. Why wouldn't they copy something that they didn't have to work for? Isn't that the easy way out? Of course it is. But I don't care about this or that or the other. I want to talk about this interview. Let's get back to it.
I don't know if these questions are really helping. Right over the top of them. And you can't, you said you can't recognize the voice.
No. And then I open the door again, and the guy is right there. And he's maybe my height, a few inches taller, not like skinny, athletic built. He has all black. He's wearing some masks that covers just his forehead and here, and it goes like around. He was white. He saw me, and I saw him, and he just left. And he was
Okay, so if you just started following this case, she just said verbatim what was in the PCA. Verbatim. Almost to the T. Chat, do you agree with that? She almost stated verbatim what was in the PCA. She did not stutter around. She did not stammer. She did not say, well, I don't remember. I was groggy, blah, blah, blah. All that BS. Because there's clarity happening right now. She may be a little more lucid cognitively. She may be coming out of the shock. She may be coming into, okay, I need to be clear on what I say because this is for my friend that just were murdered. I can't let this person go without having to pay the price, whoever it might have been. So she just described him. So I would believe that the police officer's next questions would be along the line of, so tell me a little bit about this individual.
holding, it looked like it was this, and this was black, and I didn't think that it was a gun, but now I'm thinking that it probably was, but I was just in and out of it, so I was so
When
tired.
you say this,
Like it was cylinder like this, and then it went straight out and then in, so I don't, maybe.
almost like a arrow or?
Yeah, kind of,
Okay.
it was weird, I couldn't really, I called it like a mini vacuum, I don't really know what it was.
Okay. When you say
I mean, if you read the documents or you heard anybody reading the documents, this was in the documents where it is verbatim. So people that call this a misguided interview of justice, that's really terrible that you even categorize that like that because she's given some interesting insight that nobody else had at that time. She's giving some eyewitness stuff that nobody else had at that time. And at that point, I believe that the police probably were interested in what that cylinder thing was. But once they found the knife sheaths, I'm sure that they lost interest because they knew exactly what the murder weapon was at that point. So the cylinder thing, it would have been a little bit of like perking your ears up. But after they found the knife sheath, I'm sure it was like, okay, well, that didn't cause any of those injuries. So let's not focus on that.
you're not your height, how tall are you?
I'm 5'10", so he's probably around 6 foot.
So he's gonna be average height.
Yeah.
So he's probably around 6 foot, which he really is. So he's going to be about average height.
Any of the girls at all in the house get any kind of freak weirdness going on the last couple of weeks that they talked
No,
about?
it's been all normal. Nothing weird at all.
No weird calls, no texts,
No, I mean, nothing really weird happens in Moscow usually.
right? Okay, so
And this closed captioning obviously is not correct on some of the words because of pronunciation. It said Boston, but I'm sure he said Moscow. So he's asking if there's anything weird that has happened leading up to this. And her recollection is no, not that I can recall. Nothing really happens in Moscow. You know what I mean?
So, and I apologize, I keep backing up just a little bit, just because everything's gonna be jumbled up with you, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
So you hear her dancing,
Mhm.
you hear her say somebody's here, she goes, it sounds like she goes to the,
So here we go. He's reaffirming her testimony, not testimony, but her interview, her statement. He's reaffirming it. He's going over his notes, reaffirming what she's saying. He's not putting any spin on it, anything like that, because that's against the law. You cannot put your own personal spin on it. A multitude of people were claiming that the PCA was a fairy tale and it was made up by Officer Payne and it wasn't true and all this other. Okay, so where are the charges attached to your claims? Has Officer Payne been arrested for falsifying a document? Has he been arrested for perjury of a document? I mean, any of that stuff? According to people, you can just say anything, and there doesn't have to be any kind of proof. Your wording makes it proof that people listen to your wording as if you know what you're talking about, or you know what really happens in the judicial and law enforcement process. That's what would have happened, and it hasn't happened. And it didn't happen right away. He would have been fired right off the case. He would have been, reprimanded. He wouldn't probably be an officer right now. He wouldn't be anywhere near law enforcement had he plagiarized or any of that stuff. So it's ridiculous to hear that kind of talk.
stairs. You open the door, call to her, close the door, and then you go to open the door because you hear her crying.
Yeah.
Or at least somebody, might not have been her. And then, did you close the door and then reopen it before you saw him?
Yeah, I closed it before I opened it and saw him.
From the time that you heard her say there's somebody here to the time that you saw him, how much time do you think?
I don't know, I think it was like around 10, 20 minutes. I mean, I was really
Not long.
out of it. I don't.
Okay, so if you take that to mean that she saw him from the time you heard Kaylee say there's someone here, which would be 4 o'clock, to the 17 where there was a thud, loud noise, and him actually leaving and peeling out at 20 minutes after. If you're looking at the timeline, which this officer is trying to figure out what the timeline was, obviously, because he's asking more questions about the timeline and who and what and where and how, not asking why. You don't ever hear anybody ask that question, why? Because the question why has endless amounts of interpretation. So 10 to 20 minutes. Isn't that what the crime took? Give or take some. But people hold these individuals as, well, she said 10 to 20 minutes. Okay, so if you're being logical and you're not being biased, that means you do what I just did. What I just did. You know, you start at 4 o'clock, DoorDash delivery, 3:59, 4 o'clock. She said Kaylee's playing with the dog, blah, blah, blah. Somebody's here, crying, whimpering, opening, closing, sees him walking by, 4:17 about. He's speeding off at 4:20. How does that not make sense? How is that not an accurate timeline? If it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't make sense. But I'm asking you in the chat, does that not make sense according to what she just said? And that's what I'm using based on all the stuff that I know about this case. And I'm going to be honest, of all the cases that I've covered, this one has spent most time in my head. You get what I'm saying? So that would allude to the fact that she's telling the truth.
Everything was kind of blurry. Like, I don't fully remember it, I would say.
So help me figure out where, like I said, I haven't been into the building. Where would if this is a basic layout of it, where would your apartment be?
Okay, so
Or your room, I should say.
I guess, like, say the door's right here.
This is the apartment or that hall?
It's like a house.
Okay.
It's a whole house. Then there's stairs that go up diagonally like this.
Okay.
Living room.
Uh-huh.
You're looking at the living room. To the right is the bathroom and Xana's room. Right in front of you is my room and the stairs.
On the second floor, right?
Yes.
So you've got the stairs that are here on the
Yes.
second floor. You've got the bathroom here.
Bathroom and Xana's room around here.
Okay.
My room's like right in front of it.
Okay.
And there's a kitchen.
So this is-
I mean, you can tell, like I said, I interview kids all the time. I do assessments with kids, and I'm going to call her a kid because she's 19 at this point. She was young. They all have that, I want to help you. I want to help you get the answers that you're asking. You can tell by the way she's leaning over, pointing, and making it direct that she's getting across what she's trying to get across. If she were trying to be deceptive, she would not be that close to that officer. Obviously, he has built rapport with her. So she's being open to what she knows. Many other people don't want to paint it that way. They don't want to paint it that way. They want to paint it as she's lying, she's trying to hide something, she's trying to manipulate law enforcement had something to do with it. You know, all that BS we've heard from day one. It was never a correct investigation. They'll never tell me otherwise, blah, 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 all that stuff. So if you're looking at body language, and I just got done with a training two days ago where we went over body language, where we went over facial features, where we went over nonverbals, where we went over trust, the perception of trust, all these things, because these are the type of things that are needed when you're asking questions. Can people lie to you? Of course. Can they try to manipulate you? Of course. But there's certain things about an interview that can't be manipulated. And I'm not going to tell you what they are because you won't believe it anyways. I mean, most of the time I tell people exactly what to look for, what not to look for, how certain things are viewed and whatever, and they still think that I'm lying. They still think that I'm anti-Brian, so therefore I must be trying to manipulate my audience, which I'm not. I'm just trying to tell you the difference between a setup and a real life deal. And this is the real deal right here. Because she's in closer with the investigator. Because if you were anywhere involved in this crime, she would have kept these answers very vague, very 1-2 word answers, because she would have wanted out of that room. If you are being presumed guilty of something and you're not wanting to tell the truth, you're going to make them work for it. Is she making them work for it? Is she making him work for it? No, she is not.
Kitchen.
Then there's stairs that go up to the second floor.
Okay, so that's up.
And then Katie's room is on, going up the stairs. Katie's room is on the left,
Up top, right?
yes, up top. And Maddie's room is on the right. And there's also a bathroom next to Maddie's room.
So your door faces the stairs going down to the bottom?
It faces more, like you can see them when you look up, but it's not totally facing. It's more like facing like this.
Okay, so your door's more right on the side?
Yeah, and then I can see like the window door that slides open back there.
So if you opened your door, where was he at?
In between my door and the kitchen. I
Okay.
think. And I saw him go out the door, I believe.
Out the kitchen door?
Yeah, and I just remember saying like, no, and I shut the door and locked it as fast as I could.
Okay, so is there a deck out back?
No, and I shut the door I believe.
Out the kitchen door?
Yeah, and I just remember saying like, no, and I shut the door and locked it as fast.
So many people are stuck on that little part right there. She saw him walking by, and she said to herself, no, and locked her door. Without conspiracy, without presumption, just based on life experiences, chat, what could have been a reasonable explanation for her saying no, and then turning and locking her door? Could it have been involvement? Could it have been fear? Could it have been misunderstanding? Could it have been... How many of you talk to yourself whenever you're stressed out or overwhelmed? How many of you have ever gone through a situation that is very traumatic and you tried to self-soothe yourself and talk to yourself through it? Anybody in the chat? Because if you've ever done that, her saying no, and then locking the door does not necessarily mean she was speaking to Brian. That's what I believe.
As I could.
Okay, so is there a deck out back?
It's like just cement, and there's like no fence, so I guess anyone could come in on there.
So is the bottom floor kind of like a daylight basement? So you can come in that floor and then you can
Yeah,
get out the back up one?
Yeah.
So anytime that she said something that could sound like presumptive, he doesn't even act like he heard it. You get what I'm saying? Like she just said, there's a deck, anybody could have came up that. He didn't bite. He didn't bite on that. Because he's not looking for what she has given him at the moment. He's looking for something else in this interview. She's told him a way of entry, a way of leaving. So at this point, does he know about the footprints? Does he know about the knife sheath? Does he know about any of that stuff? If he knows about those things, then he's going to be asking those questions to correlate what he knows as evidence. So those footprints walking out the back door toward the stump, toward the right-hand side, would have correlated what she just said. He walked past her room, out the slider, and went on toward the backyard. So that would have correlated that little piece of the puzzle. Now, had she said he walked past me and turned around and walked through the living room down the stairwell, then there would have been more questions asked, because there would have been like, okay, now we got to look at the front of the house for evidence, not necessarily the back, because if the back had those footprints, did those footprints only come up to the house? There's two sets. There's one coming, there's one leaving. So at that point, it would have been like, okay, now we got to look at the front of the house, but she didn't say anything like that. That's where other people interject their own opinions, and they interject them as facts. And they say, This is exactly what I believed happened. I'm not saying that's what I believed happened. I'm saying this is the process of how this interview is going on. So she's saying one thing, he discounts it like, okay, that doesn't even have anything to do with the direction I'm going. So I'm going to keep asking different questions until I get to that point that I'm trying to get with her, if she's going to give me that answer.
Okay. Okay. So 5'10", all black. Could you see what color his eyebrows were or anything like that?
No, I don't remember what his eyes look like either.
Okay, so there you heard it right there. Let me play that again for you.
Could you see what color his eyebrows were or anything like that?
So could you see what color his eyebrows were or anything like that? Did you hear her say anything about eyebrows before he said that? She may have said it in another interview because we've read that, but she didn't say it in this interview. So he's asking, did she know what kind of eyebrows he had or anything like that? Let's hear what she says.
No, I don't remember what his eyes look like either.
Okay.
She says, no, she doesn't remember what his eyes look like either. So she was answering the question, did she know what color his eyebrows were? She did not answer, I did not see his eyebrows, or no, I didn't notice his eyebrows. That's not what he asked her. He asked her, did you notice the color of his eyebrows? And she said, no, I didn't see his eyes either. So all that misinterpretation, misguiding, misinformation stuff that people want to say, do they actually listen to what is stated, or do they already have a preconceived notion of what they want to say to get people to follow along with their narrative? Because at this point, it doesn't matter. But what I'm saying, at one point, it did. At one point, it did matter. There was a lot of misinformation being put out there. And when people go against that, we were being told that we were the ones that were pushing misinformation. How is this misinformation if it's not only coming from him, who is a sworn police officer and a surviving victim, which I heard earlier, she's not a victim, she's a suspect. She is not a suspect. She's never been a suspect. And shame on you for even saying that about her. You're more of a suspect than she is based on what you've said about the crime. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's terrible to hear stuff like that. She's not a suspect. She's never been a suspect. She's never been detained, read her Miranda rights, or anything of the nature. So stop with the BS. She's not a suspect. Bethany's not a suspect. Hunter's not a suspect. Emily's not a suspect. If they were suspect, they'd be detained, read their Miranda rights, and probably have their lawyers right alongside with them. But seeing she doesn't, stop with the bullshit.
He didn't say anything to you?
I mean, I saw his eyes and he saw me, but he didn't walk towards me and didn't see anything,
Okay.
which I found really weird.
But didn't recognize eyes. Definitely a white guy.
Yeah, definitely a white guy.
Okay, she couldn't tell you the color of his eyes, but she did see his eyes. She saw that he had a mask on. She saw that he was dressed in black, a little taller than her, possibly 6 foot. She didn't see the color of his eyebrows, but he's definitely a white guy.
Okay. Any smells, anything like that that would be weird? After
That's an interesting question because I've always thought that too. Most of the time when people have committed crimes, they forget and they put cologne on, they put deodorant on, or they forget to put deodorant on. They're smelly, their breath might stink. I mean, you name it. With Brian, you probably would have smelled hand sanitizer or some kind of soap, because based on report that he does a lot of hand washing.
He left. What happened?
I called me and it was like I heard it sound like a firework and I didn't like put two and two together. And so I told her like I called everyone, they're not answering. And I'm in and out of it. I don't think anything of it. I just think everyone's asleep. And I go to her room, we lock the door, and just go to bed.
Okay.
And then this morning, it's like 11 or 12, and we're calling everyone, and no one's waking up. And we have like a really bad feeling. So I called Daniel's room, and he said, you need to call the cops right now.
Okay.
So she heard the firework. I don't believe there was a firework, but that's just my own beliefs. I believe that the car could have backfired. The car could have ran over something. The car could have made a pop. He could have dropped something. It could have been something loud enough that sounded like a whatever it could have been. So, as you're going to see, he doesn't spend any time on this. Why doesn't he spend any time on this? Because he's not worried about the firework. Because there are no firework burns on the victims. There's knife wounds. There's punches. There's bruising. There's all kinds of other stuff. The firework was not important in this crime. So he keeps going.
He wouldn't let us see what happened because he didn't want us to see.
Totally.
Yeah.
Your house, co-ed?
Just girls.
Okay. Right?
So Xana is on the same floor as me. First floor. Mogan and Kayla are the third floor.
Okay. That's what I'm messing up. Okay. Didn't hear a car start up? Nothing like that after the fact?
No.
And then no one...
He said, did you hear a car start up? He didn't ask her if her car started up. He said, did you hear a car start up or anything like that?
Has anybody seen anything on any social media posts?
No.
Anybody talking about anything?
No.
Okay.
So there's no Snapchat group messages with a lot of people talking about this because she's on a Snapchat account. She would have seen all that, right? So that kind of discounts that, right? Because we've heard all along that everybody was talking on social media about this. So what I'm telling you at the moment is, if you want to keep this going or you want to get to the truth, honestly, of what you want to get to, whatever at this point, you have to understand that there's certain things you must let go of. And the things you must let go of are the rumors precipitated by multiple people all the way around. And there's a lot of them. So there was no social media thing that she saw on her phone. And how can they tell she was lying? Well, they did a download of her phone. So they would have been able to tell, hey, she wasn't lying. She didn't see anything. There's nothing sent to her directly. She didn't delete any of it.
At the 6th party,
Mm-hmm.
anything weird, strange, not normal? Anybody get angry with anybody?
No, it was just normal. Like everyone seemed fine. Xana and Ethan were with me. And it was totally normal. Like
Okay.
there was nothing weird or out of place or suspicious.
Nobody hooked up that might have a boyfriend that wouldn't be
Mm-mm.
pissed off at him or something?
No.
All right. Anything else you can think of that I should know?
All that I really know was me saying that there was like a loud boom, but I didn't hear it.
Okay.
And I don't really know how I did it because I was on that floor. That's
Because you
all.
were just right below it.
Okay, so Bethany said that she heard a loud boom. And Dylan said she didn't hear it because she's not on that floor. So most people's perception is you could hear everything in that house. It was so small, it was so dingy, you could have heard everything. But you don't take into consideration the mindset of where Dylan was. Dylan was hearing all this other stuff, trying to make sense of it, in and out of her own consciousness, drunk, confused, whatever, trying to make sense of all this. Is it not fair to think that she didn't hear everything that went on? Or do you expect somebody to hear every little noise, creak, whisper? Like I just used in that example with the 4 people in the 4 corners. One person would have heard this, one person would have seen this, one person would have smelt this, one person would have observed this. They all wouldn't have heard, smelled, seen the same thing all at once. They wouldn't have. So to expect her to have heard the same thing Bethany heard, that's one of the reasons they do interviews. To get a more definitive picture of the total situation rather than just one person's perspective. Because based on what she said, you got the timeline, you got the weird person in the house, and you got fireworks or booms going off. At that point, do you still put together in your head, oh, that equals a murder just happened? Or did that sound like somebody's playing a prank on the house? If you're going to be definitive on what she's saying. But that's just how my mind works. That's not how other people's mind works. Other people's mind work that those loud booms and fireworks and everything else were actually smoke screens to help the perpetrator or perpetrators get out of there. It's kind of like flashbangs or something to get out of the house so that they're not observed. Okay, does that make sense? No, it doesn't. So you get my point? I hope you do. If this is too much for you, I suggest that you go back and listen to both of these videos back to back.
Right.
Below me and Xana and me on the same floor. So like Xana and me same the same floor. And
Oh, I
then
get you.
down here and
So Xana's in between the bathroom and the kitchen?
yes, pretty much. There's like a wall and there's kitchen, Xana's room, bathroom.
Okay. Anybody else on your floor?
No.
And then downstairs on the first,
Yes.
and then up on the third was, Ali doesn't know that.
Kaylee and Maddie.
Katie and Betty, those are both on the third.
Yeah.
Similar layout where one bedroom over the other.
Yeah, so Kaylee's room was here, bathroom in the corner, and then Logan's room.
Okay. So Morgan would be over Xana's room
Yes.
ish.
I would think so.
Okay.
And I guess Kay would be above my room, I'm thinking.
So she made a mistake there, unless I'm thinking, hold on, go up, over Kaylee. Okay. Yeah, Kaylee's room is over Xana's. And Maddie's is over hers. Or am I wrong? Did she make a mistake there or am I wrong? Because she could have made a mistake. I mean, it's easy to make. It's easy to get turned around in that house. Once again, when you're listening to something like this, and if you're really looking for certain things, you're not just looking for the inconsistencies. That's not how you do an investigation. An investigation is done 360. This is not an inconsistency. other than the fact that she probably got it wrong under duress.
So Xana is on your floor, but she was upstairs with Kaylee and Logan.
No, she was in her room.
She was in her room.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Ethan was in
Her room.
Xana's room as well.
Okay. So two of them there, then two of them on the third.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Okay. I will give you this just in case you think of anything else, which
Okay.
is totally normal.
Okay.
To just have things fly in from out of nowhere. You'll
Yeah.
see a box of French fries and think of something.
Yeah.
Who knows what will trigger it.
Okay.
Obviously, you guys have some resources on campus, like the CTC, right?
Yeah.
Take totally full advantage of that.
Okay.
All right. This is not a normal thing. This is not something that you can just power through usually on your own.
Yeah.
So definitely take the help. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us, obviously. I don't know who's going to be the actual lead investigator, but obviously if you call and say, my name is so-and-so, I talked to, Detective Maury, and they'll patch you through whoever we need to.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. I thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself.
Okay.
Okay. If you do get any weird text messages, calls, you think that somebody is behind you, following you, just do whatever you need to do to make yourself safe.
Okay.
Okay? Don't think that you're going crazy. Don't do anything like that. There's no reason to take chances.
Okay.
Okay? So I think that somebody might have said something that you said. I think what maybe it was. Did you have, in the recent history, have anybody that you thought might have been stalking you, or that was just acting weird?
No, but me and Beth were talking. Remember about a month ago, I think that one of the police officers that Kayla was outside taking Murphy out and she saw a shadow.
Yep. Okay.
And then when Kitty was at Winco, Xander was in the car. She noticed this guy was following her. She got what she's going.
Okay, so this part right here would have been the second part of what we've already seen. This would have been the 5-minute interview that we would have seen. So they obviously left and then came back. So she's talking about the stalking now. So she says that, obviously the Winco situation, which we didn't know, or I didn't know, that Xana was in the car at the same time. Hi, Walt. Hi, Texas. How y'all doing? Hope y'all having a wonderful Friday. PKC, I didn't say hi to you, but I hope you're doing the same. So, the fact that Kaylee saw a shadow in the backyard, that could have been anybody, or it could have been Brian. To be fair, I mean, it could have been anybody, it could have been Brian. But to say that it couldn't have been Brian, that leads a little far-fetched imagination there, because how can you be so assertive to know without a reasonable doubt that that was not him? Could have been other people, of course, but to deduct him from the equation as if you knew his every movement, it's kind of ballsy. And it's, to be, if you really want to be taken serious, and I guess why I do what I do the way I do it is I want people to take me serious. I want to be trustworthy. I want to be viewed as somebody that doesn't say things just because other people are expecting me to say it. Those are the people that I work with. the people that say things that they think that I want to hear just to placate me so that I get off their case. I'm the other side of the coin. But, you know, so to rule him out and instantly say that he's innocent, that there's no way that that could have been him, it could have been a multitude of people. But it doesn't exclude him nonetheless, unless you're trying to paint a picture of your own bias.
Getting put in the car, and she could see in her mirror the guy was behind her in the car.
Okay.
So obviously he was trying to follow her. And then that was about like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then about a week ago, our door is broken, but me, Maddie, and Ben came home and the door's wide open.
Okay, so before in this interview, I don't even know if this is during the same time frame. It could have been hours later, but she stated that she didn't see or hear anybody stalking, or there wasn't any weird or abnormal situations. Well, obviously she left, and aren't you going to talk with your roommate and be like, "Oh, you remember that one time that we came home and the door was wide open and there was clothes in the washer? Remember to tell him that if I forget." Is that painting a story or is that recalling information? Because according to other people, that's painting a story. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I went out there and I said, "Okay, let's all get together and you tell me what you saw, what you saw, what you saw." And then when I go in there, I say exactly what you saw, but I don't say anything that I saw. Well, I didn't see anything. I saw what they saw. Then that would be painting a picture. She didn't do that. She told her story first, and then she's telling the collaborative other pieces to this detective. So that kind of pops that little balloon of yours, who think that she was gathering with the others to collaborate her story. You don't think there's cameras in that hallway? You don't think people are watching those cameras to see if you're getting together to try to paint a picture that, if you were involved, try to paint everybody's alibi together? No, y'all don't think that far. You just think the surface level stuff and it shows.
Like obviously, yes, the door is broken, but that could also be something else as well.
With the front door?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever find the back slider open or anything? Is that usually locked? What's the condition?
I mean, we're pretty good at locking it.
Okay.
I don't think we locked it last night.
And it sounds like the code's fairly well known to the front door by people.
I mean, only people that like know us, like random people would not know, but
Okay.
like,
Right.
yeah,
Because Hunter said he knew it.
it does.
Obviously knew it because it sounded like she was going to move in with you guys,
Yeah.
possibly. Doesn't sound like he knew it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did Kaylee ever say anything or report that weirdness to anybody else other than you guys?
No, because I mean, like, you can't. There's like no proof,
Right.
We can't really do anything about it, and people are just weird sometimes. We didn't like. Obviously, we were scared for a little bit. We didn't think much about it after that because there's nothing really weird after that.
Did she see what kind of car it was he was driving? Something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Where did Kaylee work?
Okay, so he's asking very definitive questions. Hey, Cash. He's asking very definitive question. Did you see any cars? Did you see any kind of specific car? Where did Kaylee work? What did you understand as seeing? Hey, Mark, we're talking about Dylan's interview today. The second one. And he's discussing where Kaylee worked. So I guess she's about to say, well, this is where she works.
You worked at home for a business, I believe. I can't remember what exactly it is.
So she was just she works from her apartment? From her room? Okay. What about Maddie and Susanna? Where did they work?
Maddie and Santa both worked at Mad Greek, and then Maddie also had a paid internship through this business as well. That was online at home.
So, if you were interviewing this young lady, what would be the purpose of asking their employment? What would be the importance of knowing the roommate's employment? What would be the importance of the victim's employment? What would be the need for that? Because there's certain information he's asking that is pertinent to the crime. And then there's areas where not so pertinent. And I hope that you get skilled enough that you understand when it's just random conversation and when it's pertinent to the actual crime and the reasoning behind it. Because that's when it's going to be able to make sense to you what these questions really mean. Because these questions are formulating a pattern. And as you've always heard me say, patterns never really change. People are very pattern orientated. Associations. Yeah, very good. Very good.
Who would know what that business is? How would I be able to figure that out?
You might know.
Okay.
I can't remember what it's called. There's like, because they were business majors, and through their majors, they were able to get these jobs.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just told me about Kennedy talking about something like that.
Yeah.
And then I heard that it was possibly you. So I just wanted to make sure that I got the right person out of those kind of things. Did you remember?
Once again, he's affirming what he heard. He's clarifying so he doesn't put something down that was not stated by this interviewee. That's what he's doing right now.
Was he barking or doing anything
Yes, he was barking a lot.
throughout the night, or?
When I heard Kaylee go upstairs, he was barking a lot, and then I could tell that he was outside. I don't know how the police found him because he wasn't in the house.
Okay.
But he was.
That was a big one right there. I don't know how the police found him because he wasn't in the house. She could hear him outside. So, do you believe that that's going to be something that the police is going to continue to look at? Or do you think that he's going to just play that off as not being anything of relevance? Because the dog being outside could or could not mean one or two things. Either the dog followed the perpetrator out, or the dog went outside after the perpetrator left. Or maybe the dog had to go use the bathroom and he let himself out because the slider was wide open. There was nobody out. There was nobody around to help him. So he let himself go. Down the stairs, out the slider, went did his business, and then stayed outside. I mean, that's rational, isn't it?
He has a puppy, he barks, but he was barking a lot if there was someone there.
And that was at 1:32, or was that around
Like
4?
when everything happened.
And when he was barking, when you first heard him on barking after she was up there playing, did you hear him inside go outside, or did you start outside?
Murphy was with Kaylee when they were like dancing. They walked upstairs. He was still with her. And then when she would yell, someone's here, he started barking in the house. And then I believe the slider door was open, and I think he went out that way because I could tell like the sound of his barking was getting like more distant.
Do you think that Murphy would have went after him, wherever he was?
Maybe, but I mean, he's a puppy. He doesn't fully know that yet.
No, he would just be, if anything, probably tie in with him.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have any questions about this whole thing, I would believe that um, you know, if the dog went outside, at what point? I mean, the whole situation about Dylan stating that Kaylee went downstairs, back upstairs, and then downstairs, but she heard the dog outside. There's a lot that is missing in that portion, and I can't put it together because I don't want to speculate. I don't. I don't want to speculate. This could have happened, that could have happened, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot missing there, but there's only that stuff missing because she is not pertinent to that information. Do you believe, honestly, if she was pertinent to that information, she probably would have stated, this is why the dog went outside. This is why the dog was barking out on the balcony. I mean, could the dog have been out on the balcony? I assumed that at one point. I assumed that the dog was on the balcony and he saw Brian walking up and started barking. But people attacked me and said I was foolish for that thought. So I quit speculating on where the dog was or what the dog was doing. But as we know on the 417 camera, on the 1112 camera, I'm sorry, at 417, you do hear the dog bark. And the dog bark is very loud. Whether he's outside or whether he's not, I don't know if anybody will ever know unless, somebody saw the dog outside and we're not pertinent to that information just yet. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's interesting what she's saying right now.
When the guy in black left, did he close the slider or did he leave it open?
I don't know. I just ran downstairs.
Right. Okay. Okay. Anything else
Not that I
popped
can
up?
think of. No.
I'm going to go talk to my guys who've done the other interviews
Okay.
and see if anybody's got questions, so that we can kind of start putting more pieces together.
I mean, there's multitude that we could attack with Dylan. There really is. If we wanted to make her a suspect, I'm pretty sure we could find different variables on how to make her a suspect. But I don't believe, based on these videos and the documents and everything else, if there's anything that are missing, I believe it's due to the fact that you cannot testify, which is giving a statement on something you're not clear about. You cannot say something happened if you're not clear that it truly happened, because they're going to tear you apart in court for any particular reason. I mean, they're going to ask you, well, how do you know that? What do you have to back up that statement? How would you have been able to hear that? How would you have been able to see that? How would you have been able to see him walking through the tree line if she said she actually saw him through the tree line? I'm just giving that as an example. But it's very interesting. The two things that I took from this that I've kind of had questions on before is the sequence of her understanding of Kaylee running up and down, and the dog being out of the slider and possibly being outside. If there's more information that clears this up, I'm glad that it will come out, or we may never know. We may never know. But the fact of the matter is this: the dog didn't kill the 4 people. Kaylee's dead. Her running up and down the stairs has no relevance whatsoever, other than the fact that she could have seen him or she could have not. She could have been running from him. Dylan could have woke in a state where Kaylee was running to Maddie's room. Who knows? I'm not going to go there anymore. I did in the very beginning. I'm not going to do it anymore because it doesn't do anything but just cloud the waters. This is what we got, and this is what I'm talking about. Anything else is basically just hearsay, speculation, wild theories, whatever. Because when it comes to investigative tools, you don't make up your own assumption. It's kind of like when we were doing an exercise yesterday. We were asked to listen to uh, an individual being interviewed, and we were writing down the answer to the question that the interviewer was asking. And then we were asked to put this information that we got from this kid into a program. And there was a lot of people that were getting the answers incorrect based on the perception of what they wanted to come after the fact. Like, have you ever used drugs? Well, I smoke marijuana and, I enjoy partying. Well, in that scenario, they wanted to say that the kid was more substance abused than he really was because he wasn't even assessed or diagnosed. So you couldn't say that. So you have to be very mindful that you don't add details to what you know. And I think that's one of the reasons this case has gotten so out of hand because people were adding their own thoughts and clarifying that with the clarification of, well, it's my opinion. Where your opinion is just stating, okay, this is what I think happened or would have happened or could happen, and just going with that. But to simply sit there and repeat it as if it's fact, that's when it becomes misinformation. Re-victimizing, you're right. Yeah, re-victimizing. So and it's happening in other cases already too. Because people don't really listen to what people say. They're so ready to answer, they don't pay attention on what is actually being stated. They read things in a biased manner and they add their own increment or wording to get the desired result that they want. This was a very interesting interview. There is two parts of it. If you're watching this one, I started 30 minutes on the beginning of the interview. There is another part. I had to break them up into part one, part two, because of I got a situation happen that I had to go off really quickly. But I hope that you listen to both parts because I do go into the describing of interviews and interrogations. I go into showing the audience how certain things are misconstrued in the YouTube community versus what it actually is. And whether that makes sense to people or not, or whether they care to hear it and they're happy with whoever they watch, that's their business. But I've always tried to do that, and for no other reason than I don't like to follow the blind because it's like the blind leading the blind. You never get to a place of reference. You always are looking for more darkness rather than the light. Because what happens when a blind person gets exposed to light? I don't know. I've never been blind, but I would think that it would hurt their eyes. So, I hope you've enjoyed this and pass it along to people who you might think will enjoy my channel, who would enjoy my presentations. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'm able to say this today and actually have it happen. Maestro, cue that music. And I think I'm going to play the funny one today. Let me see where it's at. Let's see if I can find it.
Buddies. Gauge Investigative, the best true crime channel out there.
I'm a true crime channel.
12 Gauge Investigators is the best.
12 Gauge Investigator, he's the best.
Prince George's County 911 Center. What is the location of the emergency?
Across 4709 40th Avenue.
You say
It's a fire, and it's catching fast.
4709?
Yeah, 4709.
Okay, what city is that, ma'am?
Hyattsville, sorry.
And what's your name?
We take on the darkness, stare down deceit. Murder in the headlines, justice in the beat. From cold case whispers to killers in disguise, we rip off the mask, expose all the lies. Facts like bullets we load and deliver. Truth cuts deep like a blade in a river. Corruption shakes when the mic goes live. We dig where others won't survive. Keeps rolling through the smoke. Truth hits hard, no time for a joke. Deceit, murder, we name every name. No restraint, no shame, just flesh.
12 Gauge Investigator is the best.
When you're in Foley, come get your hair cut where 12 gets his at Nick's Barbershop. 12 Gauge is the best. We love you.
12 Gauge Investigative is the best.